We talk about this company trying to be a services company, and they're not. 55% of their revenue comes from the iPhone. You satisfied with the iPhone revenue you saw this quarter?
Yeah, I think you have to be satisfied with the iPhone revenue. I mean, our view was, we're going to get a number closer to 52 billion. We got a number, closer to 56 billion. I think it's important to note, though, I mean, we're lapping some very, very easy comps, right, in the December quarter of a year ago and also the March quarter of 2019. So when you kind of look at some of the year-over-year numbers here, especially on the iPhone side of things, I mean, that was a year ago where we're talking about, China revenue dropping north of 20% in both those December and March quarters. So I think that's the reason why we're getting some of these good growth numbers. But that being said, I think you got to be really excited with how the iPhone 11 demand has held up. And given the March quarter, I think you have to be pretty happy with kind of how things are holding up in China at the moment.
Angelo, I want to fold in the fundamental analysis and extrapolate that out into the coronavirus that we're seeing. The Apple CFO coming out and saying that the second quarter guidance range is wider due to the coronavirus uncertainties. We also heard about the coronavirus from Tim Cook on the call. Take a listen.
We're closely following the development of the coronavirus. We're donating to groups that are working to contain the outbreak. We're working closely with our Apple team members and partners in the affected areas, and our thoughts are with all of those affected across the region.
And Angelo, you've Tim Cook saying that they closed an Apple store in China. They're taking the temperature of employees in China. How do you fold this into your fundamental analysis?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tim Cook is doing and saying all the right things, to be honest with you. When you kind of look at China in general, I mean, again, I just highlight the fact that we're rolling over some very easy comparisons. We saw growth for the first time after 4 consecutive quarters of declines in the December quarter. Our view kind of, looking forward here is it really is an unknown, that being China. But that being said, when, again, you look at the guidance here, I mean, Tim Cook remains optimistic enough, despite the wide guidance range that was given, that things are going to be better than most people had anticipated them to be, despite the coronavirus starting to heat up here.
Angelo, we do have Apple rising after hours on the back of this earnings beat. Now, you won't be able to see this chart on the Bloomberg terminal, but it does illustrate something I'm sure you're well aware of, and that is Apple's enormous run-up over 2019, and it just seems to keep on going. So it looks as if concern over the coronavirus isn't going to be a catalyst for a pullback. Is Apple due a pullback?
Well, the way we kind of looked at it, our fear going into these numbers was the fact that we thought the shares were kind of getting ahead of the fundamentals. And then when you kind of look at the beat that they had given here, I do think that is enough to kind of hold the stock to the levels it's at and actually allow the stock to continue to grind higher here over the next couple of quarters. And the reason we say that is, the company, we acknowledge, has seen the expansion of its multiples, but we are seeing greater emphasis within that underpenetrated wearables market, right? I mean, you kind of just heard Tim Cook talk about wearables within that kind of wearables home accessories business. Wearables itself grew 44%. The Apple Watch, 75% of it came from new customers. So it tells you how underpenetrated wearables remains. And services, of course, we think will continue to grow at a mid to high teens range. So when you look at the increasing amount of profitability that's going to come from those two businesses here over the next 3 to 5 years, as well as the massive opportunity 5G is, and again, we do think people might be getting a little bit too optimistic on 5G this fall, but we do look at 5G as more of a 3 to 5 year opportunity, and because of that, we do think that the multiple can kind of stay at these levels, and we do think you're going to see upside to those consensus estimates here over the next couple of years.